Ranch School, welcome to our gardening and growing workshop. Now, whether you have space for a large garden outside, or you've got a greenhouse, or you have just a little room in your kitchen, or maybe your patio or your deck, you have everything you need to learn how to grow flowers, vegetables, tomatoes, herbs, and more. Today, we're going to learn a little bit about gardening and growing on the ranch. And we're going to start with making an herb garden in a little red wagon. Tess is going to help me, so let's go get that done. Today, Tess and I are going to plant an herb garden in these cute radio flyer wagons. And we've had these around the ranch for a while. They're getting kind of rusty, so this is the perfect use for them since we don't have little kids who like to ride in wagons anymore. Do we? Well.
Actually, yeah.
But are you willing to sacrifice your wagon to be a cute herb garden?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing we have to do when you plant a garden is you have to make sure it has drainage. If it doesn't have drainage, the water will stay in the bottom of the roots and the roots will actually rot and get moldy. So we need to drill some holes with our trusty drill in the bottom of these wagons. You want to help? Yeah. Okay. Come over on this side.
Okay.
All right, now this is how you do it. You get a bit on here that is pretty big because you want decent sized holes so the water can go through, okay? And now this is a drill bit and has a really sharp end. So what you do is you put it right on the metal, you give it some pressure from the top, and you drill down until it pops through, and then you can put it in reverse to bring it back up.
Ooh.
You wanna try?
Yeah.
Okay. Right there's good. Go straight down. Yay, good job. All right, so we're gonna do that a bunch of times. All right, look good? Should we do the little one too or just the big one?
The little one.
Okay. All right, we've got our holes drilled. Now, if you're doing this at home, it's a good idea to wear safety goggles, especially if you're drilling into metal. We didn't have them today, but most days we do, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I dump this out?
Yep, you can dump it out.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Okay, I think that's enough holes. Let's flip it over and fill it with dirt. This is dirt that we've had composting around the ranch. It has some good natural material in it, like animal poop, some compost. So you can get potting soil at the feed store or at your garden store, or you can find good quality dirt around your house. All right, Tess, you ready?
Yeah.
Want to bring the wagon a little closer? You can start with this one. Okay, do you want to pull out any rocks or hay that you see in there? Now, we're gonna go through the herbs that we got. So you could plant these herbs out in your garden. These are all herbs that are really fun to cook with. The way we're doing it in this little wagon makes it a mobile garden. So we can pull it right in front of our kitchen. If it's gonna freeze at night, you could pull it inside, because if you live in a place where it still freezes at night, some of your plants will be susceptible to getting damaged from a freeze. So this is a really fun way to make a little mobile garden. Let's see what we've got here, Tess. Some Italian oregano. That one's pretty tall. Should we put it in the big wagon? Mm-hmm. And we like to lay out our garden first and make sure it's all gonna fit and it's nicely spaced before we start planting. Yeah. Oh, that's good. It's a snail. Tess,
Oh, a snail?
Tess found a little tiny,
It's not a snail.
I don't think it's a worm.
It's a maggot.
Tess found a little worm in our soil, which means the soil has some good health. Worms are great for your garden. Okay, here's some thyme. This one's kind of big too. Should we put it right here?
Yeah.
All right. This is some lemon thyme. That one looks like it might be good for your garden. And then we've got some cilantro. Some people love cilantro and some people don't like it. I don't like it as much, so you can have the cilantro. And we've got some mint here. Now mint can really take over your garden, so you don't want to plant mint where you're planting other things. We might save our mint and plant it in another bucket because the roots can take over the rest of our herbs, okay? Yeah. But here's some basil. This is sweet basil. Do you know what Maisie loves to make with basil?
What? I forget what it's called.
Tomatoes and mozzarella and basil with a little balsamic vinegar on top.
I forgot what it's called, but I know what it is.
Yeah, it's really yummy, huh? It's called caprese. When you have summer tomatoes with a little mozzarella, it's super yummy. Okay, this is some gold oregano. Do you want to put that one in yours?
Yeah.
And you see how this is kind of creeping over the edge? That means that this herb is going to like to creep and grow, so it might be good to plant that on the edge. This one's really pretty. This is purple sage. And if we've got some leaves turning yellow here, sometimes when you pick them up at the nursery, you can have some yellow leaves, so you want to make sure you pick all those off before you plant it. Sometimes that can be from too much water. Okay, here's some silver edge thyme. Mommy might do this one over here. And some rosemary. This is great to use when we're cooking steaks or lamb. So we'll put the rosemary right there. And Greek oregano. Would you like that one?
Yeah.
So we could do all the mints in yours.
Yeah.
You want to do that? Okay, we had 2 rosemaries, so we'll do the bigger rosemary. Cilantro. Okay, then you get all the mints in yours. That was a great idea, Tess. Peppermint, orange mint, and regular mint. Okay, so I think I've got 10, spaced pretty evenly here, and you have 3. I think we're ready to plant. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so grab your plant. First one you're gonna plant. Okay, and try to squeeze the sides a little bit to loosen it. And see how the roots tend to grow out of the bottom?
Yeah.
It's okay if you break some of those roots. It's not gonna hurt the plant. And actually what we do is we wanna disturb the roots a little bit so that when we replant it, they're ready to regrow. So here's the best way to do it. Take it over the place where you're gonna plant, because a lot of times these plants have minerals and some extra potting soil in the top that you don't wanna lose. You want a little edge of soil there. Okay, and so then you go like this, Tess. Dump it upside down, give it a little shake, pull it out, and here's where all those roots have started to really compact in there. This plant was ready to come out of the box and be planted. So what you want to do is break those roots up a little, and that will help it to establish new roots and grow. So we're going to put that right in here. And if you want to save the tag, it will remind you what plant you planted, and also usually on the back it tells you how many days it takes to produce a vegetable, or if it needs full sun or partial sun. So there's good information to put on your tag. And if you don't want to use these plastic tags, you could take a popsicle stick or any kind of stick and write whatever you're planting, like rosemary, and stick it in there. Hi, Brisbee. All right, good job. So we want to really try to get it packed down there. We'll just add a little more dirt at the end to make sure all the roots are covered. Okay, let's keep planting. When the basil starts to grow, you don't want your herbs to go to seed, which means they'll stop tasting good. Once they go to seed, they're usually a little bit bitter. So like our basil, once it gets high, if you pluck off the basil on the very top and keep eating that basil, fresh basil will continue to grow and you won't let it go to seed. Remember how we do that in the big garden?
Yeah.
You got all yours planted? Okay, this one's a little bit too high. If it's too high, you can take some of the soil off of the bottom, but you want to get it so that the roots on top aren't exposed or they'll dry out. That's better, but then we need to really get it implanted there. Let's see. We might just need to add more soil. All right, how's it look, Tess?
Looks great.
Should we add a little more dirt to the top?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get the shovel. Okay, you can compact that when I give it to you. Frisbee, you're not helping here. Frisbee's scared of the shovel.
This is scary.
Okay, I think we're good. Now what's next? What do plants need to grow? They need good soil,
And
sunshine, and
water.
yep, most important. I know, you just watered them. But even when we transplant them, it's a good idea to get all the soil wet because this soil is really dry and it'll pull all that water out. So we'll water the plants and then keep them in the sunshine, and we'll come out when we're cooking and pick our herbs.
Okay.
Good job, high five.
If you use a hose, it can be really powerful and knock your plants over. But if you have really delicate plants, you want to use a watering can like my snail one. That's good. If your hose is laying in the sun, it might be hot water, so you might want to let it run. So remember, plants need 3 things: sunshine, water, and good dirt.
So you can see how simple planting a garden can be. And if you don't have an old wagon, you can use really any object as long as you've got some drainage underneath it. So look around at yard sales or in your junk pile, or get creative with what you can plant in. Next, we're gonna head to Illinois to visit Molly, Ben, and their team at Meyer Produce. Now at Meyer Produce, they grow all kinds of delicious vegetables, fruits, and herbs. They're gonna show us how they start planting in the springtime and use their greenhouse. Let's go check it out. This garden, we've prepped the soil. Now at the ranch, we have a lot of free fertilizer because manure makes great fertilizer. You guys know what manure is? It's the poop that comes from the cows, the pigs, the sheep, the chickens, and it has a lot of nutrients in it to help our garden grow. So we've prepped the soil by tilling it up. If the soil's too hard, your plant's roots can't grow and expand and the plant can't get any bigger. So you want to make sure that your soil is soft, tilled up, and has a lot of nutrients in it. Now we've also added what's called weed cloth. This black fabric with the yellow lines on it will keep the weeds from growing around our garden and will burn holes into it exactly where we want to plant every plant. And then we'll probably cover it with some straw. It also helps to keep the ground extra warm, which means our plants will be happy and grow bigger. Here's what the garden looks like after we've taken our starts that have most likely started inside or in a greenhouse from seed and planted them in our soil. We dig a deep hole to make sure the roots have lots of room to grow, plant our starts, cover it with some potting soil or nutrient-rich dirt, and cover it up before we start to water it. We've got lots of tools on the ranch, like this tractor, that help us collect nutrient-rich soil from our manure piles. We also sometimes will buy potting soil or extra nutrients to add to our garden. You can get your starts at any nursery or feed store, sometimes even your hardware store. This year we're planting everything from peppers, tomatoes, herbs like basil, mint, bay leaves, chives, sage, parsley, oregano, rosemary, thyme, and more. And when you're done planting, you'll have lots of these plastic, black or white or clear containers. You can save those for next year if you're going to start your own starts from seed. Here we're digging a trench for our hot pepper plants. When we do this, we can plant all along the middle trench and fill it with potting soil. And when we water, we'll water along that trench to get all of the plants in a row, nicely watered at their roots. Preparation is a really important part of gardening. And make sure you have a great water source nearby. I love watering my garden by hand and making sure every plant gets just the attention it needs. But there's also systems you can put in place, from sprinklers to drip lines, that will help you irrigate your garden, especially if you go on vacation or you're not there every day. Here we're adding some extra potting soil that's really light and airy because the soil that we're digging up here is a little bit denser and has a little bit of clay in it. So when we add some potting soil, it will give our roots room to grow. Your plant can only grow as big as its roots will allow. So making sure that the soil underneath where you're planting is airy and has room for those roots to push through is really important when you're gardening. Prepping your soil takes some work, but it's worth it to see your plants thrive. And planting can be a team effort. Teaching kids or new helpers who haven't gardened before to plant starts is really easy. You can use a shovel or even your hands if your soil will allow. Dig a hole to plant your start and make sure to cover it up nicely as high as you can on the stem. And a lot of plants will tell you how high the plant likes to be covered. Tomatoes, you want to make sure you're getting the dirt as high as you can on the stem, but some others need a little more room. What Tess is doing here is pulling at the roots to give them a little disruption so that when they're put in the ground, they start fresh and start building a new root system in their new home. Push that dirt around the base. Make sure to give it some water after you've planted it, and you're ready to go. Gardening can be dirty. You're definitely going to get some dirt under your nails. You can use gloves if you'd prefer, but sometimes it feels good to just dig in that soft dirt, plant some new starts in your garden, and reap the rewards as you watch them grow. We can't wait to watch these starts this summer. Grow and thrive every day. I love to come out to my garden first thing in the morning and see how everything is doing. It's amazing how fast your plants will grow. All right, let's talk about growing potatoes. Have you ever had a potato sit on the counter that got soft and started to look like this? This is this potato trying to grow new potatoes. And each one of these little growths is called an eye and can be its own new potato plant. Now, potatoes grow best buried in dirt. And a lot of people use a potato sack or a deep bucket or anything that you can get a lot of potatoes and a lot of dirt in there. And when they're ready for harvest, you'll see the green growth sticking up and you know you can dig in there and grab those potatoes. So you want to fill your potato bag with dirt, a lot of dirt. And for this, we're just going to keep it shallow enough that you can see what I'm doing. So when you have a potato, we've got this, it's a classic russet potato. We've got some little purple potatoes here. Each one that you see an eye developing, you want to cut and bury that piece in the ground. So you can use scissors or kitchen shears and cut these potatoes so that each piece has an eye. Now, they do recommend letting this sit out for a day to let the air kind of form a crust on the edge of the meaty potato so that it doesn't rot. We're just gonna go ahead and show you how you would plant this, but then we're probably gonna pull these out and let them crust over a little bit. But each one that has an eye just gets buried in that dirt. If it's a bigger potato, you can use scissors or use a knife. And sometimes you kind of have to get creative in the way that you're cutting these potatoes so that you have as many pieces as possible, making sure that each one has an eye. Here we go. We'll just bury those in the dirt. But this eye is growing legs. There's a good eye on that one. It's the piece that has just the start of an eye, you can try it, but the most successful ones are going to be when you know that there's already an eye growing. Same with this potato. Okay, so I've got some pieces that didn't really have eyes on them that I'm not gonna plant, and the rest I'm gonna put in this soil, cover them all up, give it some water. Potatoes won't need sunshine to grow until they start sprouting green. And pretty soon, we'll start digging these up and find some potatoes ready for dinner. Now we're gonna head back over to Meyer Produce in Illinois and see how they take those starts in their greenhouse and plant them outside for the summertime. They use the same weed cloth we just learned about here and have a really cool tractor that makes planting easy. So let's go see how they do it. Next, we're going to visit Heather and her middle school students in Tennessee. They have a really neat program called Anchored in Flowers. They're going to show us how they make money selling flowers and all the tools and machinery they use in their operation.
Hi, Homeschool!
I'm Coach Heather and we are
Anchored in Flowers!
Welcome to our farm. We are so excited to share all of the things we do here on our farm. Anchored in Flowers is a specialty cut flower farm located on the campus of St. Mary's School, which is tucked into the northeast corner of Tennessee, right in the Appalachian Highlands. This farm is run by a group of middle schoolers here on campus. Together, we formulate our business plan and execute all of the ins and outs of our agricultural-based business. We also contract with all of our younger grades, pre-K3 all the way up through 5th grade, to help us with some general maintenance here on the farm. So, how do we do this? Well, we run it like it's a business, like it's a limited liability corporation per se. We have a business plan, and during the winter months when there's not as much going on outside, we get together and review our plan for the year. We have several different ways that we sell our products. We have a traditional, simple market option where sometimes we will do pop-up markets on campus. We have participated in our local farmers market as well. We oftentimes will just let the folks on our school campus know that we have things for sale, and they will come and buy our bouquets from us. We also employ a model called Community Supported Agriculture, or a CSA. It's basically like a subscription service. The customer pays up front and orders a subscription of bouquets, and we deliver those bouquets over the course of about 6 to 8 weeks. We tend to run those subscription services in the fall, right when we come back from summer vacation. We also have a wonderful Christmas business where we sell paper whites and other bulbs that we force in bulb gardens, and we sell those for people to give as lovely holiday gifts. Those are our two main sources of profit. We also do some other little smaller events on a requested basis, and we just started this year with hosting farm tours on the property. We hope to expand that in the future and give us another avenue of revenue here on the farm. Now, what is different about us than from, say, a standard business is that we're a school. So technically we are a nonprofit organization. Because we are a nonprofit, we are also able to access certain grant funding. So we are able to build the infrastructure on the farm. For example, the hoop house, adding the raised beds, getting all of the dirt, all of those sorts of things. We've been able to do all of that through grant funding. That grant funding allows us to take the money that we make from the sale of our product and reinvest it in the business in a way that helps us to grow further and further. Ultimately, the profits of our business are meant to help fund the 8th grade annual trip to Washington, D.C. The first cycle through, we were able to fully fund that trip with all of our products that we sold here on campus and in the markets.
We have 3 different grow spaces here on our farm. We have the hoop house, we have an upper field, and a lower field. In all, we farm on about 1/8 of an acre. Although that sounds small, you can produce a surprising amount of product from that small space.
Okay, this is our hoop house. This is the newest addition to our farm. From the outside you can see, well, it's half a hoop. That's why we call it the hoop house. These metal beams that go across are called the purlins. Those provide the structure for our hoop. We have greenhouse plastic on the top and on the sides. Come over here, let me show you this side. We're able to roll up the sides of the hoop house on this metal bar right here, allowing us to get ventilation throughout here when it's nice and warm. Or in the cold months, we can roll this down and trap all of that good heat inside. Come on inside, let's take a look inside the hoop house. Okay, here's the inside of the hoop house. It is bursting with life right now. All of the plants that are planted in here have been growing pretty much all winter and have started to bloom here in the spring. All of the plants that are growing in here right now are what we call cold season hardy annuals. That means they're annuals, they grow for 1 year. They have their entire life cycle in that year. Cold season meaning that they prefer some time in the cold, and hardy because they're strong and hardy. They like the cold weather. So all of these cold season annuals we grow inside this hoop house. We do that for a few reasons. I mentioned the plastic. So that plastic pulls in all of the good heat from the sunlight and it traps that heat inside. So it keeps it nice and cozy in here even during the winter. Our hoop house is not quite a greenhouse. The difference is that we don't have any electricity in here. So we don't heat it or cool it during the summer months. We simply use nature to kind of enhance what we do. We grow everything in this space in raised beds. We do that for a couple of reasons. One of which is simple management. It makes it much easier for us to manage this space if we have it divided into smaller spaces. Each one of these beds is sort of like its own little farm, its own little environment. Another thing that it allows us to do is sort of control what's going on, because we have fabric on the floor, we have the bottoms of our beds lined with compostable cardboard. We can control the soil in here, and we can also help control the weed pressure because we don't have things growing up from below and we don't have weed seeds blowing in from the top. The other reason that we use these raised beds is this is actually a spot on the farm that kind of floods. So by growing our plants high up off the ground, we keep our roots happy. Flowers do not like to have wet feet. So by growing in these beds, we keep their feet dry and are able to control that moisture just a little bit better. If you take a look around, we have some really beautiful stock growing. It smells so good. I wish I could share that through this camera. These beautiful vines right here are sweet peas. They are gorgeous. We have a number of other wonderful plants, snapdragons, some more sweet peas. We have some poppies and some more stock down through there. The other thing, and maybe the key thing about this space, is it's a season extender. It allows us to grow all 4 seasons. Here where we are in Northeast Tennessee, we do get a nice winter, spring, summer, and fall rotation of seasons. But we are warm enough that with a little extra care, we can grow certain things during the winter. Specifically, some nice cold hardy vegetables. So during the winter time in this space, we grow lots of lettuces and kale, broccoli, and things like that. And then we are able to donate all of that produce to our food bank here on campus. Okay, friends, so we all know that rainwater is the preferred drink of our little plants that grow in the ground. So here on our farm, we have a system of collecting rainwater. This is our rainwater collection shed. Okay, you can see there's a big roof right there. On the roof, we added some gutters, and those gutters connect into those black pipes right there and funnel down into that tank. So that tank is about a 250-gallon tank, and it's fantastic. So we fill that up every single time it rains, and then we use watering cans and haul the water to our various field spaces. Now, sometimes, like right now, we're not experiencing a lot of rain. So we do have a method of being able to fill this tank from our municipal water source. The nice thing about this tank, though, is that we can fill it up, and by the time we're ready to use it, all of the gases, the chlorine that's in that water that makes it safe for us to drink, has had a time to what we call off gas or go away. So that is better for our plants. So how do we grow all of our plants here on the farm? Well, we have a couple of techniques, but our primary way that we grow all of our flowers is from seed. We use a technique called soil blocking, which uses this fun little tool right here that allows us to grow a lot of little tiny seeds in a very small amount of space and gives us really healthy transplants to put out in the field. So this right here is a mold. It's like dirt brownies. That's what it looks like it makes. So we have a wonderful mixture that we use. We fill this full of dirt, and then we squeeze them and put them onto a tray, just like that. Then we take our seed and place it on the top of each of these little blocks. Then we stick our soil blocks into a germination chamber, which is a warm, cozy space for all of those little seeds to say, oh, it's time to wake up. And when those seeds wake up and they pop through the dirt, we then move them under the lights. So we have a nice area with grow lights, and every day we water those plants and they get lots and lots of good light from overhead. And then when those little transplants are ready to go out, we come out to the field or into our hoop house and we plant those into the ground. One of the benefits of doing something like soil blocking is that we use basically no plastic in our seed starting. Now, we do have a few flowers that we have to start in plastic because their roots just don't like living on these little soil blocks, but for the most part, we grow all of our plants from this technique. One of the really interesting things about growing in soil blocks is that those little plants grow up, and at the same time that they're growing up, they're sending out all of those wonderful roots. Well, have you ever pulled a plant out of one of those plastic pots and seen all of those roots bunched up tight and around that base? Well, when you grow with a soil block, that doesn't happen. Those roots hit the air, and the air tells the roots, take a pause, just a little time out before you grow any further, so that when those roots get put down into the dirt, they say, oh, it's time to start growing again. That gives us a really strong, healthy little plant. So we are off the ground and oftentimes have our plants growing bigger and stronger than if we grew them in plastic. Okay, let's talk about the very important step of harvesting our flowers. So, a lot of what we grow are called cut and come again plants. That means that we cut a flower, a new flower grows. And in fact, these flowers produce more and more the more often we cut. We do have some that are single stem, such as sunflowers and a few variety of our stock. Those things you cut once and that's done. So you really have to consider your space, because all of the space on this farm is quality real estate. So you have to balance between those one and done wonders and your cut and come agains. Let me show you the process of cutting a flower that branches so that you can get all sorts of blooms throughout your entire season. Okay, I'm sitting here next to my sweet pea vine, which is a little bit different plant than what you might think of out in the field, but the same concept applies. So you can see I have this beautiful bloom right here. Ready? And here at this joint is where I'm gonna cut. So I could cut down low and I'd have a big thick stem, and honestly, if I was making a bouquet, I probably would. But just for our purposes here, I'm going to cut right here at this junction, and then I'll have one little stem, and what that does is it tells the plant, ooh, okay, we don't have to send energy into that flower. We can then send energy into other flowers. So while this stem is pretty short, I wouldn't cut this on a regular basis. I'm gonna cut it for you right now. Right down there at the base. There we go. So what that does is it tells this little vine, oh, you can put energy into growing this, and this flower can grow up and be really tall and big and used in a beautiful bouquet. Say that 3 times fast. So after I've made a big harvest like that, I'm going to take all of these to a nice cool space. In these buckets, there's fresh, clean water, and we also use a conditioning tablet that just helps our flowers get over the shock of being cut, and we allow them to rest. I like to let them rest overnight in a cool place, preferably a cooler if you have a big enough one, and then I can turn them into beautiful bouquets. Okay, so my flowers have conditioned overnight in that special holding solution, and now I'm going to make a bouquet in this vase right here with all of these gorgeous flowers. Oftentimes when we're in school together, we gather around after we've harvested and we have a great time making bouquets. The fun thing about flowers is there's really no right or wrong way. They're beautiful in their own right. So if you grow flowers to sell or just to enjoy, have fun with them, play around a little bit, get the feel for it. It's a great way to explore art with a different medium. Thank you so much for coming along on this journey with us to tour our farm and see how we take our product from seed to bouquet and right into the hand of our customers. You can find us on Instagram at Anchored in Flowers. You can also find us on the web at www.anchoredinflowers.com. We are always doing fun, exciting, and different things as our team changes every year, and we enjoy learning and growing together as a community. We hope that you will take a little bit of a moment to just enjoy a bit of something beautiful like this, whether you grow it or you buy it or it just happens to be along the roadside. We hope that you will enjoy some flowers for you and for your friends.
Bye, Homeschool!
Isn't that program incredible? Like I always say, it's never too soon to start being an entrepreneur. Those kids are doing something really cool. I hope you learned something about gardening and growing and are inspired to start a little pot in your kitchen, an herb garden on your porch, or maybe a big backyard garden. Thanks for joining us, Ranch School.